afternoon, everyone. Today, I would like to tell all of you about one of my favorite hobbies, and that hobby is baking. And I've been baking since I was a little girl. My older sister did it, and I used to just watch her prepare everything. I used to watch her cut out our Christmas cookies. She would have this whole process of doing it. She would roll out the dough. She would then use these little star cookie cutters to cut those cookies out, and she would add sprinkles on top that were Christmas colors, like red and green. And that was probably that's the experience that sparked my interest in baking. And ever since then, I kind of wanted to get more into it. So right now, in my spare time, when I'm surfing the net, I always browse for recipes that I think would be yummy and that I think other people would appreciate if I gave it to them. So right now, I would like to just inform all of you the lessons that I've learned while baking. And my first lesson that I've learned is that it's okay to make mistakes. The only way to avoid making mistakes in life is if you do the same thing every day that you know you're good at. But what you're basically doing is you're kind of living in a little safe bubble, and you're not taking chances. Because when you're worrying about making mistakes, you tend to be closed-minded of just experiences that you can potentially do, and that really limits yourself. And when you do make mistakes, when you inevitably do make mistakes in life, you have pretty much two options, and that's to stop doing it, to be afraid of taking chances ever again. And you also have the second option of brushing off the dirt off your shoulder and just learning what you did wrong and understanding what you did wrong, and then trying it a second time and see if you're successful in your future endeavors. So with baking, a personal experience I've had was the first time I made cinnamon rolls. And when you make cinnamon rolls, you have to start with the yeast, and that part turned out okay. But for some reason, my dough it was really wet, and I had to add just a ton of flour to it. And once I added maybe like half a bag of flour to it, it became just easier to roll out. But once I baked it though, and my whole family tasted it, the taste was extremely, extremely floury and doughy. There was no flavor whatsoever. All you could taste was flour. And right away I thought, okay, I'm never making cinnamon rolls again. I should have never done this in the first place. That was just a waste of time, because making cinnamon rolls is very time consuming. And I was like, okay, I'm never making this again. And I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, since I know what I did wrong, I could perhaps give it a second shot and see how it turns out. So I gave it a second shot, and this time I didn't use as much flour. I kind of just worked with what I had. And today, my cinnamon rolls, they're the favorite among the people I give them to. So right now, it's my signature dessert. So if I stopped right then and there after my mistake, I would have never known that. So it's important that you're not afraid of making mistakes, that you just see mistakes as learning opportunities, and that you learn. And because if you don't make mistakes, how are you going to learn? And that's my point regarding that aspect. And the second lesson I've learned through baking is that good results don't come without focus and efforts. Because you can't expect success to happen overnight. You can't expect to achieve the results you want to get without putting in the time and the efforts. So with baking, there are a ton of recipes that are very time consuming, and with every recipe it seems like you're taking tiny little measuring spoons and taking precise measurements, And you also have to read the recipe very carefully and make sure you're doing everything right. And for me at least, it takes me forever to do even the simplest recipes because I always want to make sure that I do everything right. I want to make sure that I'm taking precise measurements with everything. So, but that time and effort, it doesn't come in vain. What results is like the perfect baked good. It turns out the way it's supposed to. So imagine if I eyeballed everything. Imagine if I just didn't really give as much effort. Imagine if I just eyeballed everything and just didn't bother measuring everything. Do you guys think that the result would still be the same? So that's the same thing with real life. You can't just expect to achieve good results without actually putting effort into it. And my final point, which is probably kind of personal for me, is that I learned that it feels good to make other people happy. Because when I bake something, I put a lot of time and effort into what I bake, and it feels like I'm giving a little piece of myself to that person when I'm giving them their baked good. And it gives me a feeling that's indescribable. It just makes me feel happy when I see them happy, because I put in all that time and effort, and it's just, they appreciate it, and it's just all that work that I do, it makes it worthwhile, just seeing them happy. So, it was my sister's birthday 2 days ago, and I made her a carrot cake. I stayed up till 2 a.m. making it, and I bought this little pastry box, this little cake box from a craft store, and I put it inside, and I even wrapped it with a little baby blue bow, like a Tiffany bow, and I hand delivered it to her house, and she was like, oh my gosh, this looked like it came from a bakery, and I was like, no, it's just for you, it's for me, it's from my heart, and I hope you like it. And she said it was one of the best gifts she's ever received, and that just made me feel really good. Staying up until 2 a.m., it was just worth it, it was worthwhile. And to conclude my speech, I'd just like to say that hopefully what I said, it just inspired you to maybe bake, guys included maybe, and just have fun with whatever your hobbies are. Thank you.
All right, great speech. So Vanessa, you gonna bring us cinnamon rolls next week?